We can see that we've got through a lot in the last couple of days. There's all sorts of debris around this, this podium. Hopefully, we're going to be able to show you something quite soon. My colleagues have been working in real time to be able to show and try and encapsulate what's taken place in the last 2 days. I'll give you some personal thoughts. The first one is, you may know a film by Monty Python called The Meaning of Life. There's a moment in that film where a gentleman is in a restaurant and he comes to the end of a very full meal. He's had 15 courses. They weren't Japanese courses, so they're a little heavier than what you've had in the course of the lunches and dinners here in the last couple of days. And I feel a little bit like that, and perhaps many of you do as well. You've had food for thought, literally, and so I can imagine there's a certain amount of overload. Right now, we're digesting two things. We're digesting, can we bank on the banks? I've just come out of the red light district of the OECD, which is our auditorium. And in this room, we have had a fascinating session on international trade, and I'd like to thank the speakers who have just been part of that. And so, in some senses, we're not going to be able to do justice because one or two of those wonderful quotes that have emerged will have done so a little earlier, a little too late for what you're going to see on screen now. It's been a very busy and intense couple of days, and I hope you feel exhausted, but in a positive way. I want to say a few things that look back and look forward. Our main concern when we were looking to put together this forum this year was to see how the economy could contribute to making society better. Resilience teaches us how to become stronger and more creative, better able to adapt to each new challenge we face. The forum was conceived around three overarching themes: inclusive growth, jobs, and trust. We explored what resilience means for the lives of individuals, communities, and societies. At this morning's meeting on defining resilience, some of you will have heard me at the cocktail last night say, please come at 8:30 in the morning. Those of you who did come at 8:30 in the morning, you will have seen something very moving. We saw the testimonies of two students from the Fukushima region. One of those students, Yoko, burst into tears during that session. She said she is known as the Iron Lady, or the Iron Young Lady. And she was moved to tears by what she was recounting, and in particular, what she was saying regarding some of the things that are perhaps not so rosy following the impact of an event like the one that has been lived in Japan. So there's a lot of glass half full and positive, but take a look at what she says when it comes round on the screen. It's powerful. I actually thought she showed a hell of a lot of resilience personally by having the strength to get up in front of an audience here and have the strength to show her emotions. That's something that shows resilience as well. We set out to explore how to build inclusive societies. You told us to focus on strong economic and moral foundations. You said growth is not enough. It has to include all citizens, not just a privileged few. Inclusive growth means providing the opportunities and services needed for all people, young, old, and middle-aged, to live a fulfilled life. It means allowing everyone to take their fair share of the burdens too. The forum is a unique opportunity for us as an organization to listen, to learn from what you have to say, and to judge how well we're carrying out our mission of proposing better policies in order to improve people's lives. You're not shy about telling us what you think. This morning, at the Economic Outlook debate, which was one of the feistiest I have lived through in my 6 years here at the OECD, the OECD was, the word accused is perhaps wrong, there was a question as to whether we were schizophrenic. If on the Monday we were an organization that was focusing on inequalities, progressive in a sense, and on the Tuesday we were looking at liberalizing labor markets, and somehow that was a contradiction in terms. It's not easy to take constructive criticism on the chin, but I take a lot of comfort in the fact that if you are hard on us sometimes, it's because you think we're important, and we're important to be hard on, and because you take us seriously and you want to work with us. For instance, we think we're doing a very difficult job, we know we're doing a very difficult job tackling tax avoidance. It's important that we involve everyone in that process as well. And some are telling us that we are not doing enough, for example, to involve developing countries. Now, you're right that the problem of involvement exists, and your knowledge and ideas are helping us to solve it. Criticism formulated in a constructive and fair way is what we need. And we may not always agree with some of the opinions that are expressed regarding what we do, because we are on the inside and we see many things that you won't always see. But it's very important that you're here, you're applying that pressure, and I would like to thank you for taking the trouble to do so, and also thank you for taking on board our views when we express them back to you, when we may not always see eye to eye. We present what we see as the key issues around the aging populations as well, and one of the key things we wanted to do was not to label it too much. The French word for aging is vieillissement, and there's a slightly negative connotation to it. That's why we came up with this term, the new age. It is. Let's not label it too much. Let's see what the opportunities are. There are challenges, but there are loads of opportunities as well. And anyway, it's reality, so let's get on with it too. You've given us a list of a dozen things that we should be looking at in the aging panel and the Idea Factory, and we'll start doing that tomorrow. These issues can't wait for bureaucratic machinations and to decide on setting up working groups and terms of references for commissions, so we will get on with it. We have the flexibility in this organization to do so, and we've listened to you, and you've given us, in a sense, a mandate to do so. You look to us to provide solutions on controversial subjects such as safety and risk in the digital economy and the future of the internet. This isn't always easy, but the Forum has confirmed the central role that you envisage for the OECD in continuing to ensure an open, accessible, free and safe internet at what is a key juncture in the evolution of the digital economy. The Forum gives a voice to citizens. The Better Life Index is an example. We launched the new version at this year's Forum, and we now innovate by actually telling you what you have told us. We've spent 3 years providing you with data for you to explore. You've now, 60,000 of you, have told us what you think is most important in well-being, and I'd like to invite many more of you to continue it. And those of you who are here, please spread the word on that initiative, because the more responses we get back from you, the more quality and critical mass we have, the more we and you will able to do something with it. Based on what we've discussed over the past days, we will produce several follow-ups, concrete follow-ups. The rich discussions on aging will be reflected in an OECD Insights book on the topic. You will know that series of insights. It's designed for a broad audience, to be accessible and intelligible by normal, intelligent people. We benefited greatly from our OECD Speakers series, and we'll be contacting you for your views on issues that we must feature in our work as we look to build towards Forum 2015. This forum would not be possible without you, so I'd like to thank all of you who've come here for your support and your participation. Your ideas are essential to keep OECD work relevant. Thanks for contributing to the debates, for taking a special interest in the issues concerning all of us today and future generations. This year, the forum is of particular importance as we celebrate Japan's 50th anniversary as an OECD member. Since the early days, Japan has consistently taken an active role at the OECD, recently serving as the key driver in the OECD's engagement with Southeast Asia, and many of you will have seen yesterday and today how many representatives from that part of the world we have managed to attract, not just from the governmental sphere, but also from the non-governmental sphere. And I would like to extend special thanks to our chairs of the ministerial, who always play an important role and who we always feature, the country chairing, we always feature it heavily in the forum. We've worked very constructively with Ambassador Kodama and his team here in Paris, and all the ministers who've come to us. Special thanks to the Agriculture Minister. All that wonderful food and sake comes from their good offices, and they've done a great job in showcasing that. This year's forum theme, resilience, resonates very well with the shared endeavor of Japan and the OECD to build resilient economies and inclusive societies, to empower people to resist, adapt, and grow in the face of change. I would also like to thank the Korean, Slovenian, and UK governments for their contribution to making the forum possible. The Koreans are long-standing supporters. The Slovenians, as vice chairs, have come in with very important support, not just financial, but they've also provided their prime minister. And the United Kingdom has made Assembly possible. And we're also delighted to have had the quality of their participation. We always have a lot of Brits in the forum, but the ministers this time were great. The forum is where our stakeholders come together to discuss the issues that matter most to our societies. We've managed to bring 1,500 of you together from 70 countries, 200 speakers, almost 200 representatives from the media from over 40 countries. This isn't a yearly one-off isolated event that we're holding here. It's a core element of a broader cycle. What we want to hear and learn is from you in order to help us as we work through the priorities of the organization, identifying problems, working towards solutions in a constant way and in real time. Now, it's impossible to name everybody who's contributed to the success of these 2 days, but I have some special mentions I'd like to make. We've had a number of Japanese partners, in some cases for the first time. Japanese airline ANA allowed us to fly a number of people over from Japan and the region who would not otherwise have been able to afford to come and who we wouldn't have been able to afford to bring. We also had support from companies such as Canon, Toyota, Google, and Microsoft. These aren't just corporate names. These are people who are active in the agenda that we've developed. They talk about the shared economy. They talk about the issues that we have in terms of inclusivity and some of the challenges as well. We've had a couple of first-time supporters, the Lego Foundation. I hope many of you did your 7-second vines outside with Lego, but there's been some great input from there, how you play to learn. And those of you who attended the Idea Factories, I hope that you did play in that setting and realize how effective it can be to break the ice and to improve understanding. We also have partners who've been with us for many years. The American Association of Retired People, never a better time to have them because we're discussing a new age. The Getulio Vargas Foundation from Brazil. Our partners from Lukoil, from Russia, Merck, Nestle, Samsung, the University of Sydney, Isbank from Turkey, Randstad, and Sodexo. I'd like to thank our knowledge partners. There are too many of them to mention, so if you will indulge me, I will just mention our institutional partners, the Business Industry Association Council, who represent business federations, and the Trade Union Association Council, who always provide such important input into this event. You've provided us with program ideas, speakers, helping ensure the invitations to the forum were distributed amongst the networks. The media partners, we've had a lot of presence from Asia, Nikkei and NHK from Japan. CNBC for the first time, you will have seen them out in the garden today. It rained, so they had to come inside. Reuters, who've been with us for many years, Euronews for the first time, providing extensive coverage, meaning that a lot of the people who couldn't physically be here have actually been here virtually. You all know how much activity that there is on social media. The stand outside is an example, and there have been a huge number of people who have also engaged at a distance through that. I'd also like to extend special thanks to those two students, Kohei Oyama and Yoko Tsurimaki. From Fukushima, Miyagi and Iwate. They faced some of the worst examples of a natural disaster in the last decade, and the OECD supports these students to provide them with the skills that they will need in the future. We can't build inclusive societies without providing youth with skills to be able to adapt to changes. I had the privilege to recently visit Fukushima with the Secretary General, hosted by the Japanese government, and was very impacted by what I saw. 3 years on, you can see the ravages of what happened, and it's very important to keep that in mind as well. Sometimes we can think that people can overcome in an instant. It does take time, and I hope that the process with the OECD is contributing to that. This year, for the first time, the Forum also played host to meetings of the B20, and we're pleased that they've been able to use this gathering as a critical staging post prior to their deliberations in July, the summit of the B20 under the Australian presidency. We're also very pleased to have representatives from the L20, the Labour 20, the Civil Society 20, and the Youth 20 at the Forum. And perhaps this can become a regular feature of OECD weeks to come, because as you know, the OECD is very connected in with the G20 agenda. For us, it's very logical that we extend that to all the connected parties beyond government. Finally, let me congratulate my OECD colleagues, those colleagues who have provided so much help from throughout the organization. Again, there are too many to mention. Some of them are here in the room, and I'd like to thank them, and those who are not. And allow me to extend special thanks to my team. That is very numerous, Public Affairs and Communications. Ultimately, the responsibility to put this show on the road lies with them. Many of them are here. I will make one or two mentions. Producing the program, William Imbax and Jean, thank you very much indeed. The coordination that's gone on this year, it's easily the year which I have found the most comfortable, and the team coordinated by Matteo Maggiore, Nadine, Marie, and many others who are around. Thank you so much for making this such a smooth operation. And I say that because the number of people who've come up to me and said, this is really fantastic, you've been too many to mention. So you've come and said it to me, thank you, but I'm saying it to them because they're the ones who deserve it. I'd like to thank my colleagues in Tokyo. All the centers of the OECD are represented here, from the US, from Mexico, from Germany, and from Tokyo. But they have borne a heavy burden because of the 50th anniversary, and I'd like to thank them very much for their help as well. A very special thanks goes to all of those who work behind the scenes, the knots behind the tapestry as well, to make sure the forum functions in the way it does. Very long hours, setting up rooms here, providing interpretation, even until 5 o'clock in the evening today, making sure that the various sessions are well managed, welcoming our speakers, making sure they're in the right place at the right time, explaining all the processes that we have here to make this successful. I'm almost done. The Secretary General, he quoted Gabriel García Márquez and his famous character in Love in a Time of Cholera at the beginning of the forum in what I thought personally was a fantastic speech. I don't always think the Secretary General delivers fantastic speeches because he delivers so many. So when I think it's a really fantastic speech, I'll tell him, and he did deliver a fantastic speech as opening. That's a personal view, and indulge me. He quoted Colonel Aurelio Buendía. Wisdom comes to us when it can no longer do any good. He also encouraged us to prove him wrong. I hope you feel that together we've gone some way towards doing that. Merci et à l'année prochaine.